Well, good morning, YouTube. Chickasha Rose Hill Cemetery. Got a little story I'm gonna share it with you today. And as soon as I get ready to get this done, I will let you see it. So here we go. I'm gonna tell you a little story about a guy. His name is Reford Bond. And Reford Bond was born in August 10th, 1877. And he was born to, yes, you guessed it, Bond, James Bond, and Adelaide Johnson Bond. Well, Reford Bond Sr. was born in Oklahoma, and he was Chickasha, and he played a very large role in the founding of this state, and he was a very prominent attorney. And he was an attorney of the people. He was an attorney for the Chickasha Nation, and he was an attorney for the people of the state of Oklahoma. And it's kind of hard to believe, but he has quite a story. Reford went to Missouri to the Kemper Military College, and then from the Kemper Military College in Missouri, he went to Boonville, Missouri, to the Roanoke College. And now today, the Roanoke College is known as the George Washington University in Virginia, at which time he became a lawyer. And at a very young age, he was a profound attorney. He was part of the Oklahoma Tax Commission, I guess is what you'd call it. And he came back to Chickasha, and he had his own law firm with his own shingle, and he was a law firm of Bond and Melton. And here we are, as you can see, if I can get this gimbal to work right. So he was appointed by the Chickasha Nation. And here's where he's buried. And here is his wife. And right down here is his son. I do know that he still has a grandson that's still alive. And they say, from what I have discovered, is that when he was practicing law, people would come from all over to hear his arguments. Chairman, Oklahoma Corporation Commission, inducted into the Chickasha Nation Hall of Fame April 23rd, 2019. Now this is quite a stone. As you can see, his little stone where he lies to this big, massive piece of granite with his name on it. He did argue in front of our courts in Washington, D.C. He had a residence in Washington, D.C., so he could plead his arguments on behalf of the Chickasha Nation and the other people of Oklahoma. He was a rancher, he was a lawyer, he was an oil man. And arguing lawsuits in front of the federal Supreme Court and actually winning his cases meant that he was a man of principle. I think this is great. I'm glad I found this. I'm glad I did a little more research on it. The one thing that he did the most of was he made sure that the Chickasha Nation got what was owed to them, which was every Chickasha person, tribe member, was entitled to the 320 acres that they were entitled to. And he made sure that they got it. I think that's amazing. He was also a fighter for the sovereignty of the Chickasha Nation, and I'm sure that he fought for the sovereignty of all of the tribes here in Oklahoma. So I hope that explains some things about what's here. And there's another thing that I want to share with you, and I'm going to turn the camera around so I can talk to you. So here we go. I want to show you some things here in the cemetery, and it just dawned on me. And I have to turn the camera around and show it to you so you can kind of get an understanding of what I'm talking about. So, okay, here we go, YouTube. You notice in some of this monuments, especially the tall ones, like that one right there, and this one up here that I'm walking towards says Rye on it. There's a bunch of these stones that are bulky, they're tall. Some of them just look like big rocks sticking out of the ground, but they're actually stones. This one's got quite a tilt to it. And some of you know, some of you don't know, I do my workouts here, and I've been coming here for a year. Now this whole family is kind of sort of buried in this plot. Wonder what happened here. I didn't notice this before. 1848, 1851, 1883, and all of their deaths same year. That's odd. What could have happened? Tragic accident? I guess it could be. Since my my great-grandfather and my great-great-grandfather, they tragically died. And that would have been Alexander, my grandfather. Of course, my grandfather survived, but that's another story, and I'm going to leave it there because I'm not brushed up on it. So anyway, that one's tilted. This one, tilted. That one's tilted. Anyway, there's numerous ones in here. See, there's another one down there that's tilted. Some have fallen over, and this is the veteran section over here that we're walking towards with our flag. And since I'm here, I'm gonna make a comment about it. And the reason why the flag is so ragged, even though it's only about 6 months old, is I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Old, rusted, plastic coated wire line. And it goes all the way up. And what they need to do is they need to come out here and replace that with a cotton rope so that that flag up there won't get caught up in snagging on the broken strands of that wire cable. So anyway, I was talking to across the street to the monument company, and I was talking to him about Mr. Phillips' headstone, which we're heading over there to. And his stone is massive, and I've showed it to you before, I'm sure I have. And it was at the point that it was going to fall over. And something else that I noticed, which I just noticed now since I'm walking this way. Some of those are homemade stones, as you can see right there, Mr. Holmes. These right here are babies and young people. 1888, 1900, 1906 to 1906. Lived less than a month. I'm going to save, well, I'm going to look her up when I get home. Some of them, there used to be a whole lot more of these out here. And I'm gonna scan through these again so I can get some names. And then I can research them. I don't know what HBB is, or JH. Don't know what that is, but I'm gonna pull this stone up and see if there's anything on the other side. And no, there's not. If they know where these people are, their stones should be reset. In fact, I guess it's a possibility that this building, maybe it was built on top of these folks. Don't know. That's speculation, and I'm not going to go any farther with it. There's a lot of young ones here. This one didn't even make 20 years old. I may have to look that one up. Another baby. You know, there's really some beautiful stones here. And anyway, let's just move on. And back to where I was at. You know, Oklahoma sometimes has and does have more earthquakes than California. Now, California has bigger ones, but it doesn't matter, since it's an earthquake is an earthquake. And I've been watching some of these stones over the last year, and I haven't seen them move, but when you walk by them and you look at the bases that they're stacked on, you know, like right there, that one obviously hasn't moved, but some of them have moved. And anyway, I was talking with the guy over at the Chickasha Monument Company that's across the road over here, and I was telling him about fixing some of these stones here. And this was Saturday. Let's see, today's Tuesday. Yeah, it was Saturday. And I was just finishing. I did my taxi service. Of course, I had a family member that I had to make sure got delivered to their job. And I cut my workout session here short. And I came back to finish my session to make sure I got my walk done. And I was talking to the guy about the monument, and we got done with our conversation, so I started making my round, and I came around the corner, and guess what happened? I'll show you what happened. He actually, this was the guy that opens and closes the graves here, and I will post a picture in here to show you what he was doing. He disassembled this entire monument, and that pipe, which was leaning over sideways, he straightened that. But he disassembled this entire stone and set it to the side, and he leveled the ground up underneath it. And if you can see right in there, over the years, the discoloration is where it had been moving all this time. And I think he did a hell of a job. And he reset it with adhesive and the whole 9 yards. Now, Mr. Phillips, his whole family's here. Brothers, sisters, sons, daughters. They're all here. They are all here. But there are, I think, a lot of stones here that have been, especially the big ones that are leaning over sideways or leaning back. They might fall over one day. Now I do believe that's attributed to some of the earthquakes that we have here. And I guess I don't really have a whole lot more to say, but since I'm out here walking, I'll share some more things with you as I'm going and show you some things. Now this basically, where we're at right now, is a Freemasons section. And this right here is the Beatties Mausoleum. And I've peered through the windows and there's 4 people inside here. And from the obituary that I noticed, he was a Freemason. But he was also, at his funeral, he was also attended the Knights Templar were here for his funeral. One of the truths that is misidentified is you cannot be a Knights Templar and a Freemason at the same time. Now this is a Freemason stone. Be thou faithful until death, and I will give thee a crown of life. And we'll see about a name on here. OES 29 August 1931. So he was 29 degrees. And this must be him. You can see here's another Freemason. And I'm not being nasty about Freemasons. I do know that they are probably a lot of the problems our country is having right now. Here's another one. And she was an Eastern Star. And here is their son. And I tell you, some of the disturbing things that I don't really care about here in this cemetery is some of these damned cedar trees. I guess they serve a purpose, but they grow everywhere and they take over graves, like this one right here. Hers is leaning over, and that's due to the damn cedar tree. And then we're going to go over here to a Civil War veteran's grave. And I've taken pictures of this before, and I've did notations on it. Prince Evans. That was his name, Prince Evans. Civil War veteran. And there you go. Wanted to share that with you. And there are so many veteran memorials here. Now I know this is a grave marker for somebody, and it's just totally missing. Lamont at Large did a story on that Jones Memorial. And I'm going to try to stay out of the sun with this. This will give you an idea of some of the things that's in here. Now, just did a story about the Sparks family and the history there. She greets me every morning when I come here when the sun comes up. Now that spire is starting to lean, and you can see that one over there starting to lean. And as we're still walking, I'm almost through, guys. I don't want to bore you to death and put you to sleep. And if I probably have already. As you can see, there's another stone right there that I'm heading to. It's leaning over. But they're all shifting in here. And this is a site that, well, to put it lightly, they're getting ready to move in. And I'll find out who they are too, so I can add them to my page. You can see this memorial right here where it's shifting. It's shifting pretty good. As you can see, the granite's cracking and it's shifting. All the corners are breaking. There's a good example of how it's, maybe I can get it, how it's lining up right there. You can see how it's shifting. Follow that line. There we go. Had it on the wrong setting. That's why it was wandering off. When you come through here though, you'll see I'll show you something else while I'm here, because it's been happening. People have been coming out and they're stealing the bronze vases off these graves so they can sell them for scrap. Here's another one that's leaning over, and it's shifted off. One of those things I wanted to show you is, and it's an example, they're spread all over here because you have Union soldiers buried here that fought. You have Confederate soldiers here that have fought. I could probably spend 2 or 3 days in here on that very subject. And the thing is most of the Union soldiers, they have markers and monuments with their names, their regiments, where they served, where they were from, and all of that. But there's a lot of Confederates in here, and they don't get that. There's another one that's leaning. They don't get that. But they do get something, and I believe it's the Sons of the Confederacy that do it. I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that a little deeper to see who does that. But your Confederate soldiers, and there's many of them in here, hundreds of Confederate soldiers in here. And you know when it's a Confederate soldier, because right there is how they're marked. So there you go, Chickasha. So there you go, YouTube, Chickasha Rose Hill Cemetery. Again, I think I drifted off. What I was talking about was the earthquakes and the shifting monuments. You know, we have, you know, a 1.5, we might get a 0.5, we might get a 2, but the thing of it is if you pile those on, and we have them almost every day. Well, some of these stones are so heavy that that little 1.0 quake lasts long enough and it can get that stone moving. Yeah, it will shift it along with the ground that's below it. So, you know, I think I'm done for the day, and I think I'm done with this video. I'll be doing the edit and see how you guys like it. If you like it, share it. If you don't like it, don't like it. If you want to subscribe, subscribe. It's up to you. I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it to walk here, clear my mind, and better my health. So check you guys later. Peace on, brothers, sisters, and anybody else.